Hey everybody, Coach Johnson with Shutdown Defense. I'm here with Coach Woj, and today we are going to be discussing some differences and similarities between the game over in Europe and here in the United States, as well as talking about his article using defensive circuits as opposed to your traditional warm-ups. So welcome, Coach Woj. A little bit of real. This is our third time doing this due to technical issues on my part, so I appreciate you. The one thing I can say is it definitely shows other coaches that there's guys willing to sit down and talk ball with them if they're interested. So if you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, go right ahead.
Yes, sir. Coach, thank you for having me today. My name is Voight. Everybody calls me Coach Voight. I've been fortunate enough to be involved in American football since 2005, first as a player and also as a supporter and a member of the board. And when I finished playing, I transitioned into coaching. And I've coached in, as you say, in Poland and Germany, Switzerland, Romania, China. I coach in the U.S. and the youth level, high school level, and in 2019 I was a defensive quality control assistant defensive line coach for Towson University, the FCS level, and I've been recently named the defensive coordinator for the Triangle Razorbacks in Denmark. So that's briefly my bio. As you say, I'm excited to be here and share with you some of the stuff.
Worldwide, Coach. So let's go ahead and talk about building culture within your program over there in Europe and how you do that at the club level.
Yes, sir. So I think what's important to start with is that there's a huge difference between football in Europe. Like, some countries have a longer tradition, longer history of the game, more established culture. For example, like in Germany, they had scheduled a 42nd German Bowl. Like Poland and contrary, we started rather late with we only had 15 years of league, and so there's a difference there. But the other thing worth mentioning is that we work as clubs, like it's teams aren't part of educational system like high school or universities. Although in some countries, you like in Great Britain, you have very well organized like NCAA, so it's like university leagues. But in most countries in Europe, we work as clubs. And these are not professional teams, like semi-professional, and some are closer to professional. And then we definitely have some challenges here, like time is one of them, because you may only have 2 practices a week, perhaps, sometimes a walkthrough and a game day. Then most teams do not have their own facilities. So one thing that we discussed already is that Zoom and sharing film over huddle, that's something that is really tailored for us. Then of course you want to build those relationships, and it really depends, because sometimes when I, for example, take a job and I'm the first year coach in a team, I want to get to know everybody. Like just this weekend I finished a round of telephone interviews, just hopping on a phone, talking with each of my guys individually. I think it's important to get to know them a little bit better, not only as players, but also as humans. So that would be it. Then of course, you want to make sure that you find this time to bond with them. Maybe you want to have a barbecue, or for example, like in Germany, and our senior teams, they're over 18, right? So this would sometimes would happen, after a practice, these guys would bring a case of beer, and they would have literally one beer with the players, some of them, and they would really appreciate it, the fact that we didn't get drunk, but we used this as a, how should I say it, as an experience, bonding, just to talk to them about different things. And these are not our star players or some of the guys who we have who are paid to play, but the local guys. They say, hey, we really appreciate the fact that you take your time to stay with us and talk with us, and you treat us as humans. So you have different, definitely different set of problems, different challenges, depending on the country, on the level you play. But yeah, it's definitely
Really
fun
based on your resources, as like I said,
yes,
we've
sir.
talked a little bit, so not really going to get too much into that again. But from everything you told me, everything you got your upper level tiers, your middle level tiers, and then your bottom level tiers. And I know that we talked about within building that culture at your club level, commitment. And again, we all want commitment no matter what level you're at. But I think from our previous talk, you've done a great job with building that relationship within your community and letting them know that it's not just about football. It is about, getting kids outside, being active, learning something new, being around different cultures. This day and age, it's fantastic, and we need more of that. Um, when it comes to some of those resources, I assume that that's why you get into more of these, circuit type drills where you might be able to have one coach run two stations at one time. So go ahead and talk about some of your, your coaching resources, maybe that you have and use, and how many coaches you typically have on a staff compared to how many players you might typically have.
Yes, sir. So again, this is very it changes from team to team. Again, you have, for example, last year when I was with the Calanda Broncos in Switzerland, it's one of the best teams in Europe. We had like three full-time coaches, and we would have up to 5, 6 coaches at every practice. So that's, for example, that's a lot. And sometimes you're in a situation where you are like a defensive coordinator, but you're the only coach for your side of the ball. So what you do, and this is, I think, it's part of a challenge, but on the other side, it gives the player a chance to step up and embrace this leadership role. And okay, you have a defensive lineman who's been playing for 10 years, and like he has idea of okay, what's the warm up should look like, and what the coaching points are. So he's leading his unit today. So then of course
So
the
again,
amount of
club level, you're looking for that leadership role,
yes, sir.
that almost that player coach in the club level where you can say, hey, you guys are grown men. Here's what we need to do in order to be successful, handle your business like men and get it done.
Yeah, and especially when you have Americans or European guys, we call them imports, so who are paid to do that. So who come here and they are like professionals, right? You can also
Right.
use them as those assistant coaches, and they also help you out on with a film breakdown, et cetera, et cetera. So all those little things, and then again, sometimes you have to be a little creative. Like I take great pride in sometimes making equipment myself, or finding a creative solution, instead of like buying, I don't know, $250
Right.
pop-up
Sometimes
hands or
you have to
whatever.
improvise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
to make sure that we have what it takes.
So, and again, since you're talking about equipment and things like that, um, your defensive circuits that you use in place of those warm-ups. Um, tell us a little bit about how you came to that. And again, I know from our previous conversations, you're limited on your time constraints, so you really have to focus on the things that are going to make you successful on game day. So go ahead and then
Yes,
take
sir.
that if you'd like to share your screen as well with your drill, with some of those drills as well.
Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to give credit to Coach Badwell and Coach Pontriard, with actually who I've been working in Germany in 2018 with the Comets, and these guys were heavily involved by air raid. And as we were sitting on a staff meeting, Coach said, "Hey, we're not going to be warming up traditionally. We're going to start with like indies and
Noose
pattern ball,
drills
et
and
cetera, nose
yeah,
drill." So like think about something on the defensive side that can match that. And like you said, okay, well, let's brainstorm, and we decided that hey, for us, we can use the circuit structure to do that. And what's critical for us is turnover, forcing, tackling, and a little bit of block destruction. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of drills, show you a couple of game day situations. So if I can share my screen now, Coach, could you allow me to do that?
um, you should be able to share, I believe, sir.
I'm not like host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay.
Yeah, but as I said, you want to make sure that you work on what matters on game day, and how hopefully you see those drills. Nope.
There you go. Now you should be able to, Coach.
Appreciate you, Coach. Yeah. So first, what I like to start with is the turnover circuit, and depending on the level of the players, you use different drills there. But this is one of the drills that I stole from the Patriots, and you will see it combines the interception, forcing fumble, and the fumble recovery. So the coach throws the ball to one of the guys. He has to catch it, and hopefully screams the sound for interception, and the other guy punches it out, and the third guy recovers it. Boom! So you'll see. There we go. Come on.
The great thing I love about this drill, Coach, is that you're incorporating numerous phases, right? You're
Yes, sir.
incorporating some drop back by your linebackers or DBs. You're working on breaking on the ball as a defensive back when you see it come out, and then you're also working your defensive tackle and strip. That's one of my favorite drills as well, Coach. Great.
Yeah, and I also think it's important that defensive linemen are around those drills as well, because sometimes you'll see this ball is popped in the air, and you want to make sure that they know what to do. Now, this drill is called the band tackle drill. It's one of the drills that we like to do from the USA Football. So you'll see the whole trick here is that you start fairly closely to the step over or to the back, and you put a like power band. Ideally, the more powerful band you can get, the better. And as you strike with a new shoulder, new foot, you make sure that the arm clamp is working there, and the coach or the other guy wants to rip the bag from the tackler. Now, this is the drill that we did last year in Switzerland, and we added like a tracking component to it. So we like to say we take the bag for a walk, and you'll see as we strike, we want to make sure that we accelerate our feet.
Run those feet, right?
Yes, cleats in the grass, and we are still working, because when we strike, when we tackle a running back, it's not always the first contact there. And hopefully I can find you some. Okay, so this is the clip from our 9-man football, the Dragons from last year in Poland. This is a nice fumble forcing and fumble recovery drill. So as you see, we get a little beaten there. Boom, and you'll see, oh my God, all right? Like it's a touchdown. Not really. Our safety makes a huge play. Then our corner, Lucas, he recovers it, and we give the ball back to the offense. So this is how it pans. Now there is another clip. We'll see Shimon just coming, and you can see what I would like you to see. What I would like you to pay attention to is this post-contact acceleration, his footwork, how he drives those feet back, and he makes a tackle for a loss there. So yeah, I think it's these are good drills, and we, depending on the level of the guys we have, sometimes we have to start over just tossing them ball and teaching them, okay, you attack it in the highest point, you hold it high and tight. So make sure the defensive players are more familiar with the ball. There was this famous quote by Belichick who said that the DBs could catch, they'll play receiver, right? And I think it's very, very true for us.
Right.
So we want to make sure that all levels, the defensive linemen, linebackers, and DBs, are comfortable with the ball. We mix them up so it actually improves their teamwork, chemistry, and a little bit of trust there. So this is basically the philosophy behind those.
Yeah, and Coach Patricia's defensive clinic that he did at University of Notre Dame, that you got that from, is probably top 3 video for me as far as when you talk about, again, because everything that you see them focusing on, and we know that the New England Patriots, they got more time, more resources, more coaches, more everything, right? But there's aspects of the drill that you can take and incorporate it into yourself. Now, there's some things in there, it's like, well, I don't have 3 other coaches to do it, so I can't run numerous, but I can run one station while another group's doing another situation. And as we've already talked about before, having those drills specific to game-like situations so that you can go back on video with your guys, that really builds up trust within the system, and that what you're teaching them is important, right? And that's the big thing that I see. And it sounds to me like, based on your time as well, you don't want to waste a lot of time doing gassers or sprints or things like that. You want to try and have these drills where you're getting that conditioning work
Yes,
through
sir.
drills.
Absolutely. Like this is something we evolved, and this is something we learn. And as a player, I hated that. And then when somebody told me, hey, if you just run the practice at a certain pace, there was no need for that. And you don't want to waste time for that. There is the
Right.
old adage that nothing prepares you better for playing football than playing football. And this is something you'll see from in soccer and I don't know, ice hockey, rugby, and basketball. Like in contrary, we cannot play football the whole year. So we try to imitate and simulate those game situations as much as possible, right?
And for everybody else, I know that we've already talked about, but it was the one thing when I first started talking to you that made me interested. Again, here in the United States, American football is king. Internationally, obviously, soccer is a big game. It's big here as well, but huge in Europe. That's probably the king of all kings.
Sure.
But rugby, you guys are big. A lot of rugby being played over there, not as much over here. And how do you, again, maybe talk kids in? And we've already talked about it a little bit. That you encourage them to play a sport, but just like you said, if you're not starting or you're not getting a lot of playing time, why not come out and check out this game that's pretty similar? And do you have a lot of rugby guys that play for you?
Well, I would say that depends from team to team, and that depends if, for example, if in a certain city you have a rugby team, and also depends a little bit on the relationship that you have with a rugby team. Because in some places it's okay, it's a competition, or like, oh, we're fighting for the same kids, versus in the other places they say, okay, hey, you actually have like complementary product to us, so hey, let's work together and let's find some more kids. Let's maybe take some of the soccer kids or some of the kids
Right.
who aren't like active. But yeah, like for me as a coach, like whenever I have a kid who I call like a second love athlete, because he maybe have like background in soccer, basketball, handball, or rugby, or MMA, whatever. Like, hey, if I know that he has been doing something like athletically, like that's so much easier. I just teach him like basics of the, just fundamentals and some bit of X's and O's, and hey, he's almost ready to go. Like versus you have so many kids, and it's great that we have them, but so many kids that aren't physically active, we teach them how to run, or how to get in the shape that I can safely put them on the field of play. And this is so and then of course, like when you have a rugby guys, they actually they know how to tackle. And like we're coming now right the full circle when we actually teach that rugby or shoulder
Mhm.
tackling again. Like for example, when I started playing in Poland, like this is how we taught tackling. And then we got to have a head across. And now like, okay, we're coming full circle that it's, hey, it's of course there
Cheek
is a
on
difference.
cheek, right? Yeah.
Yes, there is that there is difference between rugby and football. But I think it's important to recruit the guys with some of past in athletics. And
Well,
as you say.
Well, one of the things that I found interesting with our conversations is you were talking a little bit about how over there, rugby is acceptable and kind of the thing. But American football is I don't know if that's quite safe type deal, which is, strange for us because it's almost the opposite here, where they look at rugby and say, man, those guys are crazy out there. They're out there hitting each other, but they're taught how to do it safely, and you don't really see the amount of injuries and things like that because they are focused on the technique, and the technique is so important. Would you agree?
Well, I would say that certainly when you don't have or like when you're like in your teens and you put an equipment on, we call it like the immortality syndrome. So you have a guy who thinks, okay, I can run through a brick of the wall, versus when you don't have a helmet, you don't have shoulder pads, you may have some of those like they wear those like Under Armour with padding, for
Right.
example, like compression shorts, or
You're
and
saying they're
shirts.
a little bit more cognizant of their safety.
Yes, that you have to be focused, you have to be more
Interesting.
shoulder accuracy and stuff. And sometimes it also, I would say, how should I phrase it nicely? Like when you watch a game on Sunday on like NFL, and you see those guys who have been taught how to play like 10 or whatever years ago, and now we are teaching the younger generation how to lead with your shoulder and take the head out of the game. And you know so I think I agree with you that you know you have to be very um, very cautious. And there is a stereotype that American football is a dangerous sport, and you have to sometimes help those parents when you have younger players. Say, hey, you can sign up Thomas for football and nothing's gonna happen, or we have a progression. We go against like bags, and sometimes it's a limited contact. We're not gonna, like, on the first practice, we don't want to tell them to just tackle a running guy full
Right.
speed.
It's a progression. It's a
Yes.
progression, right? Yeah. And I put out some videos that I did with Coach Banster. That's how I got into YouTube. And it goes through our tackling progression, and it kind of lets parents see, like, here's how we're going to teach it. And years ago, 6, 7 years ago, when I became the defensive coordinator, we had a club rugby team from a university come over, and we were really going through, and they introduced me to some rugby tackling drills, that have helped us out quite a bit. Um, Coach, I'd like to kind of go over, before we finish, some similarities and differences between preparing for the game as a defensive coordinator over there as opposed to what you've been around here in the States.
Okay, so I would say, like, first of all, football is football, and one thing that we discussed, and I think we can all agree on, is that you want to make sure that your players are put in a position where they can be successful. So whenever you have a system, how I do it is, okay, I want to see, okay, I would love to have like play 3-4, but if I don't have that, no tackle, like maybe I have to go 4-3 or 4-2-5, and then the other side of it is, okay, what we are going to go against, like do the reverse engineering and work of film. Like, then of course we have those difference makers. So it's either going to be an American, like a former Division One athlete, or no top European player. So how do we stop those guys? And I think we also discussed it, like, you probably, with the amount of practice time we have, it's harder to build something than to destroy. So if you
Right.
are able to, you want to give the offense an opportunity to make mistake, which maybe you make play a little softer. You try to make, you want to
Live
make
to
sure that
play
you,
another play. Live to
yes,
play
and
another play.
nothing is free, nothing is cheap. You rally to the ball, you make a tackle, you want to make play. That's why we work on those interceptions, and and all those fumble recoveries, et cetera, et cetera. So whenever you have a chance to make a play on the ball, you make it. It's like we just finished the playoffs, and you could see, like, there were so many, like, even at that level, like there was a guy who drops interception, and like those games can come down to 1 or 2 plays. And as you say, sometimes you want to go against, when you're going to go against guys who are richer team and who have more Americans, you don't have a lot of chances to win, but you want to compete. You want to see how those guys will respond to it, how we can, how hard we can play, and just want to make sure that we play as hard as we can with what we have. And
And I
sometimes you have
try and
to,
tell people, you can't compare the high school game necessarily with the college game, and the college game with the pro game, because once you get to the pros, the Johnnies and Joes are pretty much equal throughout the board. Now, again, there's the haves and the have-nots, but the level of competition is a lot closer. Whereas, and I feel like in high school, it comes down to scheme versus execution. We talked about going back through video and saying, we've had times where we've won, and I've watched the game and been like, oh my gosh, we played terrible. This kid, they could have hit us here, they could have hit us there, but we were just better than them on that day. So again, for you, it sounds like it comes down to just coming up with the scheme that puts your players in the best position to be successful. I tell people back from my youth days, if I put a kid out at corner who I know can't tackle at the youth level, and because at the youth level, everything's sweep, sweep, sweep to the outside. Well, if they go out there and run the play, and I know the kid can't tackle or doesn't like contact, and he misses the tackle, well, do I get upset at the kid for missing the tackle? No, I should probably get upset with myself for putting him in a bad position to begin with.
yeah, I mean, it's again, so many times the game comes down to fundamentals, and you can, what we've discussed earlier. It's, you want to take what was the most explosive, plays, that the players, the matchups. Okay, we're gonna double team that guy, and if they want to throw it there and he still beats us, like, tip of our head. But
Right.
like, you're not gonna beat with with what you do best, or like, we can defend what you see, what we've seen on tape. And sometimes, I think what you said, coach, is that you may have a guy who's not a knockout tackler, but he's able to just to push guy out of bounds, and he gets the job done, right? Or sometimes I always tell my DB, say 15 is better than 6. If you're beaten, then you just get the DPI, but we can line up and live another down. Like, who knows what's going to happen, right? So it's always you want to make sure that you cover all the bases, because American football is a very, very complex sport, and there's a lot of situations, and sometimes the players aren't there, so you try to be creative, try to make sure that they are prepared for what may happen, or just show them film, share it over huddle, or.
So you guys probably do a lot of situational football then, again, just teaching the game and saying, okay, this is what we're looking for, and things like that then.
Well, I would say it's situational as well as teaching them the football FBI, football intelligence, because on the punt, right? Is it when you can touch it, where when was Peter, or like on the kickoff, like when's the ball is live, when it's dead ball. So all kinds of if it's like I always tell them, hey, if it's a lateral, or like you don't know if it's lateral, just scoop that ball, and like those give the referees a chance to make a mistake, right? So you always want to make sure that we know what's coming, and like hopefully they are in position to make a play, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but there's one thing we learned over 2020 is to appreciate the fact that we can go out, we can have a practice, we can have a game, because there's nothing is promised, and we're fortunate enough to have a season in Poland, but so many countries didn't have a season, and I know that you guys over there, you didn't have a season, and I told my guys, hey, appreciate the fact that we can go out there. This is not the end of the world, for you if we lose the game, but just make sure that we competed, and we gave everything we had.
Well, Coach, again, it's been great talking with you. I appreciate you hanging with me. Anything else that you'd like to say before we go?
I mean, if anybody is interested, we can connect over on Twitter. It's at Coach Voight. Maybe you wanna write it down, Coach. And I really appreciate every single one of you. Have a great 2021. Hopefully, stay safe out there. And again, Coach Ryan, thank you for having me today.
Thank you, and good luck in the new adventure as DC and in Denmark. And we will definitely keep in touch, sir. Thanks.
Yes.